Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to episode 94 of Word Ninjas Live. I am your instigator of literary and creative productivity and insanity and everything else, Charles. And joining me tonight are my co-hosts. Stop. Don't. I need that window. Stupid mouse. Will.
Hi, I think.
And Calvin.
Bad mouse. Bad mouse. I
didn't expect it to go into the corner of the screen. Each corner does stupid things. That's the Mac.
That's why I don't use any of those corner shortcuts, because they're evil.
Well, they come in handy when I actually use them, but when I inadvertently activate them, it becomes really frustrating. More so when I'm playing games that are full screen, but not fully full screen, so it still activates them when I don't expect it. That's always fun.
Well, I really can't say those corner shortcuts are completely evil. I only use one, and that's to do a quick lock, do the quick lock of the laptop, and during times where I still need it but need to don't feel like closing it.
I just have one of the corners move all the windows up and out of the way so I can see the desktop, because most of my folders are on the desktop, so it comes in handy. But believe it or not, that is not the talkie point for this week's episode. What is the talkie point for this week's episode? We actually have 3, believe it or not, because we're crazy. And we have a lot to talk about this week, because a lot of stuff has gone on. First things first, though, we still have a little bit more of Book Expo America convention review. I know I did mine on Monday for a whole hour, because I did my full book haul of like 45 books, but hey, we have Calvin on too. And he managed to make it for all of day 3. And I kind of...
On time at that.
Yeah, and I kind of ran him ragged on Friday because we had, I think it was 6 interviews when all was said and done.
Yep, it was 6. It was going to be initially 4.
Yeah.
But we seem to attract all manner of people who seem to like us for some reason. Not that I'm complaining. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yes, we had a lot of fun with all those people and everything else that we did. But I thought I'd try and grab a few minutes of your time to talk about your perspective on it all. Because I rambled for a good half an hour about my perspective, but I presume you have at least your own perspective on things.
It probably would have been nice that I prepared beforehand with my book haul, but it's in the hallway over there. I can run and grab it real quick, or at some point. But in the meantime, this year I can say was a lot different from last year. Last year, Book Expo was completely new to me, something incredibly foreign. The only other time I've been to a convent, like anything that large, was, well, New York Comic-Con and the annual auto show at the Javits Center, but nothing this colossally big pertaining to books and authors and literature in general. So, like, while last year was basically me getting my sea legs and going to a convention of that nature, this year felt kind of like old hat, though. This year I didn't have the extra adage of going for all 3 days like I did last year. Oh no, wait.
I think you only came for 2 days because it was like last year was also on the weekend, so I think you came for Saturday and Sunday, but not Friday or something.
I thought I did 3 days. No, there's one day I didn't go, but it felt like a lot.
Because I remember I already had your badge, and then I was inside, but then I had to come out and meet you.
Yeah, because I ran late.
It happens. It's because we didn't
Like
have
you,
interviews last year.
and you'd actually be surprised how long it takes to get from Brooklyn to the Javits Center. Like the Javits Center is as far west of Manhattan as you can possibly get.
Until you get
And
into the water itself.
yeah, and those blocks are long. But I digress. Let's see. I was saying something. Yep. Last year was madness. This year was significantly less madness, even though I had more to do this year, which made me feel a bit more useful, honestly. I'm kind of sad I missed out on Thursday, just just because of all the people I missed out on. Specifically Michael Kep. It would have been real nice to chat with him again.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was going to be there just for Thursday or there, period. So I'm really glad that I managed to catch that. But we managed to get copies of his next book, and I'm sure we'll be able to get him on the show again for that
Yeah.
one, and we can catch up then.
But I enjoyed Book Expo this year. I enjoyed the my role as one man AV crew.
And you did that job well.
Thank you. I feel like I'm getting better at that. I will say that tripod you bought me helped tremendously. Like I think eventually I'll get good enough to have everything set up within like 90 seconds. As I think I just have to figure out the whole game plan, which to start off with first, and I don't know. I'll be give it enough time, give it like another year or so. I'll be pretty much a one-man AV machine. And I'm hoping by next year I'll have better lenses to use. I can't really complain. I used my kit lens, and the kit lens worked out pretty well.
Yeah, we made it work.
The fact that the Javits Center is a giant greenhouse really didn't hurt either. The interviews that we did, those were a lot of fun. A whole lot of fun. But like we ended up finding a very diverse cast of characters we got to talk to, but hands down my favorite was Charles Connor, Lil
Yeah.
Richard's original drummer.
We kind of started that day off with a bang.
Sure enough. Like I was actually going through the interview last night, and this thing that's going back and listening to like all the stories he had, and we were only with him for 27 minutes. Like that's how long the video is, like about 27 minutes, but it's a jam-packed 27 minutes of just amazing, not just musical history, but American history as well. And
Yeah.
and I don't know, it meant a whole lot to me getting to be a part of that interview and chatting with him afterwards, because my grandmother, one of my grandmothers worked for Decca Records back in the day, and like a lot of the artists that he spoke about during an interview, my grandmother spoke about at length a lot of times, and and actually told Mr. Connor a story that my grandmother would always tell me and my mother. At one point in the interview, he had talked about how Little Richard, and the band would wear pancake makeup to try to dial down their masculinity. And I told him a story that my grandmother used to tell us about the first time she met Little Richard. Now, one of my grandmother's trademarks back in the day, and even up to later in her life, was her generous use of pancake makeup on her face. And so she would always tell us the first time she had met Little Richard, one of the first things he noticed was the pancake makeup on her face and how well she wore it, because my grandmother had some serious style back then, and even up to the day she died, she was always in style and always glamorous, always done up. And so after that encounter, like not too long after that, she would see him on TV, and she saw him on TV, and she noticed that he happened to be wearing pancake makeup. So she always gave herself credit of inspiring Little Richard to wear the pancake makeup.
Nice.
So I got a chance to tell that story to Charles Connor, and he got a kick out of that one. And what's very interesting, it may very well be possible that he and my grandmother crossed paths at some point, especially like he's gone through he's been in the offices of Decca Records, so my grandmother was the secretary to the CEO, so there's no doubt in my mind that they crossed paths at some point.
It's a disturbingly small world out there.
It really is. It really is. So, long story short, it was an absolute pleasure, an honor, and a privilege just to get a chance to talk to him and get a chance to record history. Like we're holding on to a piece of history right now, and it's kind of mind blowing. So
I think we handled it comparatively well too.
yeah.
I didn't really do my due diligence and research and figuring out just what sort of histories all the authors had. So kicking things off with that, I'm surprised I managed to keep things rolling as I did.
You did pretty well. Though though to be fair, Mr. Connor did a good portion of the driving.
Only about 90% of it.
So that was a fantastic interview. I really enjoyed that one.
Mm.
Not to take away from the rest of the interviews, but the bar was set pretty high at that point.
And I think after that one was Tom Morrison.
Yep, it was Tom Morrison.
And then we did the fake A-Rod, or Jason Vines.
Jason Vines.
And then the real A-Rod.
Yep, A-Rod Womack.
Mm. And then Beth, who is not the owner, but works in there. That was my only big stumble that I remembered.
I
I'm sure there were others, but that's the only one I remember.
Okay. I haven't gotten to that video yet, so I can't really confirm or deny that one.
Well, that was
But
the fifth one. And then the last one was a complete surprise for all of us.
yeah, that one I left up to you. If I told you if you wanted to make it happen, I'll make it happen too. So,
And you did.
yep, that one was pretty interesting. Uh, his name Benny.
Yeah.
Benny from
If list.
If List, which is a very intriguing website and very very creative what they're doing. It's kind of like a like fantasy movie league for like lack of a better term. But all those videos will be up. I'm gonna try to push for having them all up by Saturday.
All right.
Like I really wanted the Charles Connor interview up today, and I still may try to make it happen. One of the many things that I have to do tonight. Thank goodness I found this secret coffee.
Yeah, my to-do list is probably just as long, but a little more compact, and I get to play with all of these and figure
Ah,
out our follow-ups and whatnot.
gotcha. So, besides the interviews, getting to see what was out there, all the different authors and companies that were represented this year was pretty cool. It's pretty a lot of fun. Very always a lot of interesting characters. So it was what kind of stood out for me was randomly seeing the American Diabetes Association there. They had a booth, and they had a crap ton of resources for diabetics, including lots and lots of cookbooks.
Nice.
Um, Cookbooks for dinner recipes and something that stuck out for me, which I was like really happy to see, baked goods and desserts.
Cool.
All sorts of stuff I can make at home and won't kill me. Because I had the one trademark dish that probably didn't help and probably slowly kills inside most people that I serve it to.
The candied bacon pecan pie.
Yes. Hey, I still may make one of those before the year is out. Of course, I'll have to alter the recipe significantly, but I'll
Either that or share it with like 20 people.
Still yet to taste this mystery pie.
It's an experience.
I will tweak the recipe and try to make it happen again. I'll have to look through my cookbook and see if there is a less lethal version that I can make. Yeah, I ended up picking up, I believe I picked up 5 cookbooks.
Nice. That'll be fun to play with.
Yeah. So that was a very nice surprise for me.
And an awkward surprise from Book Expo was that both that and BookCon are going to Chicago next year, which I'm still not sure how I feel about that.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of bummed out about that, but I feel like that's something we should try to plan for next year. Figure out a way to make that happen, because I've never been to Chicago.
Chicago's a lot of fun. We would have good times.
I want to go. I want to go to Book Expo, and I want to go to Chicago. And now that those seem to have intersected, that gives me a good excuse.
Well, we keep the interviews and press stuff going at a steady pace and make enough content that people want to regularly watch, and we might be able to get press badges.
I know between July and August we'll have a decent bit of opportunities for interviews and the like.
And considering I have 20 business cards in a stack, plus another dozen or so bits and pieces I need to sift through for contact info, we're going to be able to fill in all the extra weeks and months and whatnot.
I am okay with this. Let's see, should I do a book haul, or should I hold off on that?
How many do you have, approximately?
At least. Let's see, the cookbooks. Nancy Nagel. 2. At least 10.
That's not too bad. I say yes just for posterity so we can get it on the channel, and I'm going to bump the second talkie point for next week in trade. Because I want to talk about the third one for various reasons.
Okay.
But we can bump the second one until next week. Because it was actually tied with another one that I bumped already. So.
Okay. All right. Take this next 30 seconds to stall, and I'm going to go grab my books. I'll be right back.
All right. And now cue the one moment, please, little interlude with the really loud beep. Thankfully, I don't have that on hand because I don't want to scare everyone.
Do 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 do.
And now we get sued.
I suppose that one is still, still actively being used on Jeopardy, right?
I presume so.
I think that's Jeopardy.
All right. I forgot they were a lot closer than I thought they were. All right. So this was my bag of holding from Book Expo. Oh, Lord. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. This one here, thanks to CJ. The second book of the New Earth mythology, Leaves of Fire by Michael Kep. I am very much looking forward to this book, especially after reading the synopsis, and it looks like we may figure out a little bit more about Helen.
I hope so. But I actually started rereading the first one yesterday because I've forgotten a lot about that series. Although you don't necessarily need to read the first one to read the second. I think you mentioned it was semi-standalone, or at least enough that you could get away with reading just the second one.
Okay.
But I'm a completionist. I want to read the first one again anyway.
It'll probably be good that I read the first one again as well, as I I burned through that first book in about a day and a half.
So about the same as me.
Yeah. So, excuse me, a refresher is not a bad idea. Ah, yes. Okay, Discovering the New York Craft Spirits Boom by Heather D. Doland.
That one looked interesting.
I am definitely interested in this book here as someone who has a profound respect and love for all the local craft spirits, especially the ones that have come about from New York City and the Hudson Valley. I I really didn't realize how much of a history New York City has in terms of distilleries and distilleries and how the effect that Prohibition had on the industry in New York. Like, it's not really well known that New York had a pretty significant history in terms of brewing and distilling back in the day, like going back hundreds of years. So hopefully this book touches upon that aspect a little bit. I look forward to reading that.
And that's one from Waldorf Publishing, if I remember correctly.
That is correct. Let's see, I also got Keep a Knockin' by Charles Connor. As if I didn't have enough to say about Charles Connor already. This book is going to be a good one. All right. Okay. Oh. A little couple of samples from Taunton Press. The Everyday Baker and Southern Heat by Anthony Lamas and Gwen Pratesi. If the inside of this looks as good as the cover alone, I am going to go out and buy that book.
I kind of want to get their cookbook for the Blue Ribbon jellies and jams because some of those were ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I have to stay away from that one for my own sake.
I think most of us, for our health, should stay away from some of those, but it's going to be hard.
All right, here are my grabs from the American Diabetes Association. The Overworked Person's Guide to Better Nutrition.
We could all use that.
No Fuss Diabetes Desserts. Just the cover alone looks fantastic. The Diabetes Carb Control Cookbook. I feel like I have my carb situation under control, but it never hurts to have another weapon in your arsenal to keep the carbs away.
Definitely.
Got Hello Taste, Goodbye Guilt. Got 150 diabetes-friendly recipes, spanning from dinners, finger foods, and desserts.
Nice.
And guilt-free weeknight favorites. Okay, they have baked bacon macaroni and cheese on the cover.
Sold.
I too am sold. Awesome.
Were those all galleys, or were those for purchase?
Those were all, well, they were galleys for me. They told me what time to come back before they broke down. They were giving away all of those
Oh, nice.
right before they started shutting down.
Cool.
So of course, I had to take my pick. All right, next up on the list, Life After Perfect by Nancy Nagel, an author that we got a chance to meet last year, and she is an absolute sweetheart, and it was very nice seeing her again.
I actually caught up with her on, well, Saturday and Sunday, but I got one of her books on Sunday.
Excellent.
And this time round, we aren't going to fumble that one, and we're actually going to get her on the show.
Good.
Same with Tanya at some point.
Excellent. The two of them are awesome and lovely and fantastic. And I can't say enough good things about them. Okay, I got The Guise of Another by Alan Eskins. This one just happened to catch my eye, and here's the synopsis, real quick synopsis. Who was James Putnam? The answer to that question may help Minnesota detective Alexander Rupert salvage the wreck of his career. A Medal of Valor winner, Rupert is now under subpoena by a grand jury on suspicion of corruption. So when he's asked to look into the false identity of a car accident victim, a man who has in fact died 15 years earlier, Rupert sees a potentially big case and an opportunity to regain his respectability. But the investigation puts him in the path of Drago Basta, a sociopath assassin and veteran of the Balkan Wars who has been searching for James Putnam for years. Putnam had something that Basta still wants. Threatened by Basta and suspecting his wife of cheating, Rupert falls for the seductions of the dead man's former girlfriend. As his life spins out of control, his brother Max, a fellow police detective, may be Rupert's last hope.
Cool.
Yep, this one caught my attention. I'm looking forward to that one. As well as this one right here. Nightfall by Jake Halper and Peter Kujawinski. This one actually got on the autograph line for. Actually got a chance to talk with Peter really quick because he is a Connecticut resident. Got to chat with him, give him the full coverage writer's elevator pitch. Gave him my card. Just planting the seed here.
You're better about that than I am.
Which reminds me, I need more business cards. I only have one left.
I have about half a box left.
Okay, we need to do a swap at some point, or maybe I can not be lazy and just print some more for myself, because I made the designs and I believe I had them all sent to you, right?
Yeah, and then I started handing them out in batches to everyone.
Okay, so
chances are we're going to be using that at least through Kineticon, if not a couple other cons. So we probably could use another box.
Yep, no problem. I'll make that happen.
All right.
Okay, so synopsis here. Night is coming. On Marin's Island, sunrise doesn't come every 24 hours. It comes every 28 years. Each sunset, the townspeople sail to the south, where they wait out the long night. None of the adults will tell Marin, Kana, or their friend Lena exactly what happens when they leave the island. But when the three are accidentally left behind in the gathering dusk, they learn the truth. At night, their town belongs to others, and those others want them gone. Fleeing through the now alien landscape that used to be their home, the three confront shocking transformations and uncomfortable truths about themselves. They are challenged to trust one another or perish. Marin, Kana, and Lena must find their way off the island before the night finds them. This one, I think I'm going to give this one to Justin after I'm done, because this one seems like right up his alley.
Yeah. And there was a minimal representation for horror at the conventions.
But I got to read that one first. Nah. All right, this one here is from Spencer Hill Press, or more specifically, the Spence City imprint. Into the Night by Stephanie Rigdon. Let's see. When Selena Baker, a coordinator for a Boston nonprofit, goes out on the town with her friend Jess, she never expects to meet the man of her dreams, and she certainly never expects him to be undead. When things go from flirty to majorly flawed on the first date with James Lawton, he is forced to save her the only way he can, by killing her. Selena suddenly finds herself in the mix with the creatures she thought were made up solely for late-night TV. Into the Night follows Selena's transformation from a wallflower into an impulsive and dangerous new vampire. With no choice in the matter, Selena becomes trapped between a new man, his wary brothers, his cruel and controlling queen, who wants nothing more than to watch her suffer. Selena must walk the fine line between adjusting to her new powers, life after death, and following the rules, all while avoiding disaster. Let's see. Also from Spencer Hill Press, a good friend of the show, Breaking Glass by Lisa Amowitz.
Nice.
On the night 17-year-old Jeremy Glass winds up in the hospital with a broken leg and a blood alcohol level well above the legal limit, his secret crush, Susanna, disappears. When he begins receiving messages from her from beyond the grave, he's not sure whether they're real or if he's losing grip on reality. Clue by clue, Jeremy gets closer to unraveling the mystery and realizes that he must discover the truth or become the next victim himself. Young adult paranormal mystery.
And I got her other book, Until Beth.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I got through. I think got through about 3/4 of your book review on Monday. So I saw you had picked that one up. And
she was up for another interview at some point, so we'll be able to talk to her about both of the books. Since last time around was really more about the cover art and that stuff.
All right, we got, lastly, Creation, The Chronicles of Aura by Joel Eisenberg and Stephen Hillard.
Ooh, nice cover art.
Yep, that was what got my attention first. And I was sold after speaking with Joel Eisenberg. When J.R.R. Tolkien is summoned to authenticate a recently discovered lost Book of Beowulf, events are set in motion that years later will unveil an imminent tragedy. The entirety of the world's art and invention have been inspired by a corrupted muse, who has implanted a series of codes within the works of history's most influential authors, warning of humanity's end and a new dawn of time.
Okay, I want to read that after you.
I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to end up reading this book. I have to figure out where on the queue I need to put this.
I have 45 books in the queue, so even if that's the last one on your queue, you'll still read it before me.
All right, fair enough. And that does it for my haul.
And if you want to see mine, I did a separate video from Monday, and I tossed it under 2015 events for the playlist, since we didn't have one for 2015 yet. And we're going to have a lot of 2015 stuff coming out this year.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. What do we have down the pipe?
Well, we have the 6 interviews just from Friday, for one.
Yeah. And then we got Kineticon. Oh, at the very least, all the press junkets there.
Yeah.
And whatever else we can snag.
And whatever convention shenanigans we get up to.
Oh, yeah. We can't forget the shenanigans. Yep. Let's see. We've got
a KaiCon.
We have a KaiCon. Oh, God, I'm so excited about that.
That's going to be a different type of crazy because we're merging podcasts for that one.
Yeah, we're going to be merging podcasts, and I've been requested to bring my AV equipment, so we're going to be doing interviews.
You damn well better, because I'm driving us there, so we have space for it.
So I'm gonna have all my equipment. I don't know if I'm gonna have a new lens by then. Why am I obsessed with this new lens? I want. Anyway. Yeah, we more likely than, well, pretty much we have press access.
We are going to have some form of press access between OTP Manga, Fairy Tale Podcast, Full Coverage Writers, and whatever other stuff we manage to pull between all the people we have there.
I may have to make a special mic flags for a KaiCon, especially since all these interviews are gonna basically be cross-posted.
Yeah, we're gonna have to strategize about that.
Hey, more exposure for us.
Yes. Not to mention, we'll also have Inconceivable in August as well.
Yep. And we have press access for that.
Yep. And there's Hartford Comic Con in September, which I'm still poking them for press logistics. I need to start getting a little more creative since their standard forms don't seem to be cutting it. But we're good at adapting. We'll make it work.
Yep. So, yeah, July, August, and September. Good heavens. I am not going to have much of a summer.
And there's possible stuff at the first weekend of October, first or second weekend of October, because I think there was a convention that I might get press access for, or I'm just going to set that up for a downtime weekend for all of us, if we can coordinate it, so we can do non-convention shenanigans.
Non-convention convention shenanigans.
Yes.
Hey, that's a good thing. I'm all right with that.
And I recently got emailed about Rhode Island Comic Con. That's on the weekend of my birthday.
Oh, I'm
I
not sure if you're
really bother with Rhode Island Comic Con to begin with. That kind of sealed it.
we'll give 2016 a try, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Rhode Island Comic Con was good because we made it work, but
Uh,
I think we have enough other conventions this year that we can focus on and really leverage.
I agree. Though I really wouldn't mind revisiting that one. Hopefully, hopefully they will have gotten all the kinks worked out by 2016.
Yeah, kind of. I think we're just going to take the year off from that one,
Yeah.
and then we'll see how it fares for next year. And by then, we'll have decent enough stats that we'll most likely be able to get press badges and a little easier and coordinate stuff a little better.
Okay. Yeah, things will be a lot different in 2016.
And things are already pretty different now.
That's true, but we will be under a different name by then.
Damn well better be.
That's why I said we will be. We will be.
But yeah, we have a lot of fun stuff going on this year.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Speaking of fun stuff, we still have another talkie point that we need to squeeze in.
Ah, yes.
Because I don't really want to push that for another week. And theoretically, this is a talkie point that we can at least get all three of us talking about so that Will doesn't have to join us just to sit there and nod his head for 2 hours.
We're still here.
Yes, the second talkie point for this week's episode is what constitutes as diversity or culturally relevant in regards to current literature, basically. Because there are ongoing trends of wanting more diversity and representation within all the various literature and media and content out there, and there's even it's a hashtag, but it's also a trend or organization that they're really trying to push forward of we need diverse books, or hashtag we need diverse books, which they actually had a couple panels at Book Expo and BookCon, and I missed every single one of them because I was in a line every single time. But I did want to bring it up because it is a worthwhile topic, because the whole concept of diversity, I feel, is necessary to be put into context of diverse in regards to what? Is it diverse for the US, diverse for internationally, diverse for whatever age group you're working with, diverse for whatever topic it's trying to cover? Diverse is a relatively vague and adaptable concept just within itself. How are they going to try and pin that down in regards to how they're talking about it? Which made me lead into the whole concept of culturally relevant, or just relevant for whatever audience you're trying to pitch your particular stuff to. If that makes any sense, or I may have just been babbling. I do that.
Nope, it made sense.
Yay! Does anyone have a response to my apparently sensical babbling?
I think in terms of like diversity, at least in American society anyway, at the very least, I think that kind of boils down to the want or the need for of including more subsections of society in literature, whether it be race, gender. I think those are some of the bigger, more prominent sections that sound like really are looking to be better represented in literature, like race and gender and sexuality, especially like now more than ever, given given the climate these days.
And I keep going back to my examples keep going back to graphic novels and comic books at the moment, simply because that's what I see a lot, either at the convention or on Tumblr or various other things that I see. We did manage to catch on, I think it was Saturday, Women in Marvel was a panel. And they were actually pitching a new Black Widow book that's coming out this year. Because we don't have a movie yet, but hey, a book is a solid start. And they were talking about how they were getting more... They were covering the gender aspect of diversity in media, little by little, because the fans basically demand it. The fans are not keeping quiet about wanting more female representation in graphic novels and content in general. So they're slowly doing whatever they can, little by little, to actually make that happen, which was very encouraging. And I want that book when it comes out.
It's really nice to see that the public is really getting their voice heard in this with this particular subject, because it kind of seems like the public they've definitely gotten tired of the same formula that has been prevalent for some 80 plus years now. And the fact that that formula really hadn't changed up until, say, 5-10 years ago.
Maybe as much as 15 years ago, but yeah, probably 10 is when it really was starting to get noticed.
Although it's somewhat disconcerting that it's taken that long for the tide to turn in that aspect. I think it's a fantastic thing to see that these massive media companies, publishers, and the like are beginning to realize, okay, this formula is not working. People want more. People want different. People basically want to see more of themselves in these stories and in these graphic novels, comics, books, movies. They want to see strong figures, strong protagonists that closely represent themselves, closely represent them. And so it's nice to see that at the very least these companies are trying. It remains to be seen how well they're trying.
Some better than others, or some more effectively than others, I believe. It's still an uphill battle.
Yeah, definitely, but given the advent of social media, the average person has the added advantage of being able to join the general online hive mind.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that has definitely helped push this forward a lot faster, even though it really doesn't feel like it. As detrimental as Amazon has been to certain aspects of the publishing industry, how much they've done for ebooks and digital publication and all of that I feel like, this is purely conjecture, but I feel like has really helped open the way for all of these smaller digital publishing imprints and smaller presses and self-published people to help fill all those gaps and flesh out those niche markets, because it's a lot easier to do it digitally nowadays than print. print is not dying. Book Expo and BookCon have proved that. But digital publication has a much wider reach than print has nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot easier to go out and go to just like go on your Kindle or Nook app on your phone or your tablet or even your computer and browse through like what's out there over, say, traveling to your local library or your bookstore, which may or may not more than likely have what you're looking for or have the kind of niche that you're looking for.
Yeah, although I have noticed that a lot more libraries are adapting to that and having the ebook library, as it were, option. I know at least my hometown and some of the libraries that I run events at have their own digital libraries, and you can either borrow or check out one of the Kindles or Nooks or other ebook readers, or I don't know how the system works, but you can essentially take out an ebook on your own device through their system. I've never tested it, but it is a thing that's out there, so even libraries can be a good resource for that if you don't have your own ebook reader or don't necessarily want to have it on your phone for whatever reason, if you have a smartphone capable of doing it.
I imagine the library in my area, all the libraries in my area, I'm sure at this point have to have something like that. And I'll probably have my mind completely blown by the selection that they have. Like, I feel absolutely terrible, but like the library was never really one of those places I took solace in growing up. Even the gigantic Parthenon of a library at Grand Army Plaza, like that never really did much for me. But it's never too late, and I'll probably be completely blown away by how much has changed since the last time I've been there.
When was the last time you were there?
I don't remember.
Then yes, you will be blown away if it's been that long. I'm blown away that my local library has a 3D printer.
Really?
And several of the other libraries that I help run events at have 3D printers. And you can use, if you do like the little tutorial thing, you can actually use them for your own purposes and 3D print whatever you want through their system.
That's awesome, and something that we should take advantage of one day.
Yes, although I'm not patient enough to have the learning curve to figure out 3D modeling software. Even though I think those are so easy, even I could figure it out, I just haven't taken the time to look into it.
That's where I come in.
Yes.
I already have the experience.
Yay.
But going back to
the actual talkie point?
Yes. Cornering all those niche markets is significantly easier nowadays, given all the digital publishing that's available out there and all the different ways that people can access them. So I'm not sure if we really covered like what is culturally relevant or diverse, but I think
not really. We've danced around it.
I kind of feel like that's a loaded question.
Well, it's loaded in that it's different for everyone. Yeah. Every reader will have their own personal perception of what is culturally or just personally relevant for them. What do they want to see in books and stories and characters and plots and all that? what interests them individually, and for what reasons. Why are they interested in such things? So it really is going to be different for every single person, which makes it kind of complicated for writers who, for whatever reason, try to write for a trend or for a specific audience, because I don't think the industry is going that way anymore. I think the industry really is evolving to the point where writers write, or writers should just be focusing on what do they want to write. What sort of stories are they really going to enjoy and engage with themselves? And that's going to resonate with various people out there, no matter what.
And I think that's really the beautiful part about that. Like, you can write something that you would enjoy, and there's going to be so many more people out there with similar interests that will see what you write and will engage it and have like that personal connection to it. And I think that might be what diversity kind of boils down to, like that personal connection with books. How how does this book relate to me and my interests and my the things that I go through as, I can't even say the average person anymore, because there is no average person. There's people of color, people of different genders, sexuality, the whole gamut. So basically, like, what would I enjoy? And that seems to be, I think that more than anything seems to be what I think that's what like diversity like boils down to. Like we kind of touched upon that already, like it being such a broad topic, but I think it kind of boils down to what am I interested in? And it seems like so many of us aren't as different as we think we are.
We all have our unique interests, but there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
And from Saturday, one of the panels we caught, I forget if it was Marissa Mayer or Leigh Bardugo who said it, but a growing trend among authors, from what I've seen, and just the reader base, for lack of a better term that I can think of at the moment, the general consensus is for reading, read what you enjoy, and basically screw anyone who says otherwise. Just have fun regardless of what genre or niche or style it happens to be under. If you're 52 and you're reading middle school books, if you have fun with it, then have fun with it. And if you're in middle school and reading War and Peace, more power to you. But yeah, they really tried to drive home, read whatever you happen to enjoy, and don't let anyone try and tell you to do otherwise. Which really does help with the whole diversity aspect. Because if we're encouraged to actually seek out what we personally, individually enjoy, then that encourages authors to actually work towards that. Write what you personally enjoy writing about, or create the story that you want to see. And then, kind of like that magical baseball field, if you write it, they will come. So I can kind of see why there is a growing trend and push for more diversity in books. Don't just write towards the formula. Write what you actually want to write, or write something that you personally engage with it and enjoy, because that engagement will kind of show in between the lines and draw readers in.
And that's really what that's really what like definitely what will help expand the literary playing field, like drawing in more people that probably wouldn't pick up a book because they don't think their interest will be well represented. And I think that's something that would not only help read not just readers but authors in the general literary community.
Hmm. I think it was A-Rod who said it on Friday, but Barnes and Nobles had trouble figuring out where to put his book on the shelf because it was multiple genres based off of the genre formulas.
Right.
Because he wrote the story he wanted to write. But the story you want to write isn't necessarily going to fit in one genre's formula.
It's very true. Now that we've fully hijacked this talkie point, Mr. Quiet One, do you have anything to add to this?
We promise not to interrupt you.
I agree. I don't know, I was looking at the talking point and I don't really know. I think I just have the problem that this is something I don't think about ever. Diversity. And it may be because most of the books I read like are fantasy stories. So diversity involves, well, how many elves and dwarves and non-human species are in it, which isn't what this question is, but does create a weird kind of mindset.
Well, that would kind of fall under race diversity, as it were.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I guess I just don't think about it. Like, I remember hearing when the Hunger Games movies were coming out and everyone was complaining because one character was portrayed as a certain race, and everyone was like, oh, in the book he's not that race, he's this race, and it started this whole argument.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Wasn't he portrayed as an African American in the movie? And in the book he's supposed to be African American, but there aren't really any obvious tells, like they don't come out and say he's black. So a lot of people just assumed he was white.
I think there were like one or two tells, but it wasn't confirmed or concrete.
Right.
But I haven't read the books yet. They're in my pile. They didn't make it. They survived the book purge, but
But it's an interesting thing about trying to include racial diversity without it being blaring, and then people not even noticing it because you know they don't pick up that this means this, so they just assume, and then when it's proven wrong, they throw a fit. There's also been a lot of that going on with the new Mad Max movie.
I still want to see that.
I want to see it too, but a lot of people are unhappy with the portrayal of women in the movie and how it's very strongly feminist and shows women as equals and empowers them.
Yeah, well, those people should go chew on a lemon or something.
But it's just interesting because I think it relates to the talking point about how, what people want isn't going to be the same for everybody, so it does really make it tricky to... You can't please all of the people all the time.
Nope, not even close.
There's going to be at least somebody who's going to be like, well, you didn't portray so-and-so properly.
Well, then make your own interpretation of it.
Even Frozen had that, where people were accusing it of being whitewashed, and people from the country that takes place in are like, no,
no,
that's what we look like.
Some people just like to be cranky.
Some people do just like to be cranky. But, I don't know. Honestly, I know people are talking about, I think, the Harley Quinn book. They finally, officially, canonically hooked her up with Poison Ivy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been seeing some pictures from, I think it's the Harley book, where she and Poison Ivy are officially canon a couple. Finally.
I thought it was a big enough change that they finally acknowledged the abusive relationship style between her and Joker based off of the ridiculous amount of graphic novel series that portrayed that.
Yeah. I think this is the same book. It's the same artist.
Yeah, that might have been earlier in the series, and now they're moving on to that.
Yeah, I think that's one. I don't read too many comics, but that one I would be interested to read in.
Every bit and piece I've seen from that series has been awesome. I would like to read that series as well at some point. It's really fleshed out the character.
Oh, yes.
In a respectable way.
Yeah. A big change from that campaign they did a while ago where they wanted people to portray the female characters committing suicide as a contest, and they used Harley as an example. They got in trouble for that one.
That. I wonder why.
Good grief.
Yeah. Yeah, and only the female characters, not the men, the women, had to be offing themselves in a sensual manner for some art contest. I don't know. They got in a lot of trouble for that one. I think they canceled that one.
As well they should. But yeah, to our viewers and listeners out there, if you have an example of a book that covers diversity or acknowledges diversity in whatever way, shape, or form, post it in the comments. Let us know the book or the author, maybe a link if you can, of where we can track it down, because it would be nice to have some more examples of books that actually acknowledge or take this on in a more noticeable manner. Because we all need more diverse books. Granted, my bookshelf has probably still 100 books on it, not counting the 50 from Book Expo and whatever else I'm going to get this year and all that. But there's always space for more books.
Mm.
And Justin's not on, so he can't say anything. All right, with that, let's roll into the highlights reel, because we're running a bit behind. So we have a few things on the highlights reel, and we're not going to dig too deep on them. It's more just to kind of bring them to light, or at least acknowledge them. The first piece is from a little while ago now, a couple weeks ago from IO9. Fantasy doesn't need to be a mega novel to have a rich imaginary world. Now, the headline did catch my interest because, you know, I agree with that. It doesn't have to be a gigantic novel or an epic or a 7-book series, although those are awesome. You can build a one-shot world, just a one-shot story, and really create a rich imaginary world. That's where I thought this was going, but this article actually focused more on short stories, which I never really thought of because I don't really read many short stories. But their complaint was that there aren't many short stories that manage to build rich imaginary worlds. And they were kind of complaining about that fact. That kind of very quickly got shot down just within the article itself in providing 20 examples with appropriate links to short stories that have rich imaginary worlds. And then, of course, in the comments, people provide their own examples. I mean, granted, I feel like The Last Unicorn is more of a novella, or at least novel length, but it's been forever since I've read it. But if you're interested in short stories that really focus on world building or did proper world building, I feel like this would be a good article for you to go check out and go through the links, because you have 20 examples right here. So it's well worth a perusal if you're up for some fantasy short stories. And to get a little weird, we have 20 of the most bizarre RPG character creation rules. I just thought this was a fun list to peruse. This one's over at the Topless Robot, which is always an interesting website, not just for the name, but for the content as well. But, I mean, the first one starts off with, what did I write my notes for? You can die even before you get to play. Like, your character can die in character creation. That's just not fair.
Sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. So, note to self, never play the game Traveler with Will.
I'd figure out a way to do it in D&D. There are undead characters, though, so...
Yeah, you would. But it's a very entertaining list, partially for the actual rules, but partially for just learning some RPG games that are out there, because I haven't really looked into that genre and industry very much. Like, I've heard of GURPS, but I've never played it. But that one has some pretty wacky rules from what I see on this list. And World of Darkness sounds like a lot of fun, although I'm not too sure about some of those rules. They make me a little nervous. You also have Dark Heresy, you have 13th Age. Fortunately, they split the thing into 2 pages.
Could have split it into 1 per thing.
True. I don't remember Rifts. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't remember anything about it. But the concept of dragon or hobos, just that intrigues me. Let's see, in the original book, you could be a mech pilot, a scientist who can tell stories about the past, a wandering hobo, or a dragon. Who wouldn't choose being a dragon? Star Wars Edge of the Empire. I don't know, a Star Wars RPG would end dangerously, considering all of us. I have a feeling that Justin would have words about some of the rules.
I think he would have words about some of the rules no matter what game we were playing.
True.
Pathfinder.
Vampire the Requiem. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the last one. Options for breaking the system. Nice. Yeah, it's just a fun little list of 20 different weird rules from RPGs. If you play any of those games, chances are you've at least encountered some of these rules, but if not, it really is just a fun little read. And next up is a publisher, an old friend that we managed to see at Book Expo again, Spencer Hill Press. And I've already finished one of the books from them, Play On by Michelle Smith. I'm going to do the book review for that on Friday because I finished it in under 24 hours because it was a fun read. And I managed to get 3 other books from them, and looks like Calvin got some as well. So
Yep.
we'll be having fun reviewing those and getting those authors on, or back on in some cases, for interviews. And they're fun in that they have a lot of little imprints, as it were, within their organization for paranormal, for young adult, for suspense, thriller, contemporary. They really run the full gambit. And so far, every book I've read from them has been a lot of fun to read. And you can check it out by author, by book. Submissions are open. So if you have your own piece that you'd want to toss over to them or talk to them about, you can do so. They're a fun group of people. We always have fun with them whenever we see them or get to talk to them.
Agreed.
And in regards to some new friends, Waldorf Publishing, because we interviewed 5 of them. And we got several of their books, so we're going to review those. We're going to maybe get some more interviews in the works because we managed to snag a few from authors who are not there. Like, I got the 10 Bits of Wisdom from the Shoeshine Guy, which looked like a fun book. Calvin got the New York Craft Spirits one.
Yep.
And there's a lot more coming out. They really do cover several genres, so
Good.
there's your diversity right there. All of that.
Impressive.
Yeah, they're also a fun group of people. I'd love to get a few of them on the show when they're available. So definitely worth checking them out. And as far as just general websites, we're burning through the last few random resources we had. This one is not photography or artistic or anything like that. It's more just if you're creating a new brand for yourself or organization or company, or you're just looking for a new blog or website name, you can toss in whatever you want. Like, I am a bored person. And it'll auto-check for website availability, social media availability, YouTube, all those, and tell you if it's already been snagged or if it's open and allow you to register it on the go, which I think is a nice touch. I know there's plenty of sites out there that do this, but this is just one that I came across. So if you are ever in need to do such a thing, this is a fun little resource to do that. This one's a namevine.com. And it also provides suggestions if what you've chosen is already taken. Some of the suggestions are a little funky, but most of those suggestion generators are. But yeah, if you're ever in need of that, this is one that I've looked at least. And the last photography one that we have in the queue is Free Nature Stock, which provides royalty-free nature stock photos. Use them however you want. And it's updated daily. And just as with the other photography sites, they have all sorts of high-res imagery for you to use and take advantage of, either for just inspiration or for other purposes. And this one's freenaturestock.com. And that's all the highlights we have for this week. So onwards to the inspiration and productivity segment, station, what's it, thingy, whatever we call it. Which means, what did I do? Hey, I survived 2 conventions. 4.5 days of networking and shenanigans and fun. And it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. Got to see old friends, got to make new friends, got to network, got to pitch our stuff to a lot of interesting people. Got to do a lot of stuff that I never would have been able to do if not for this organization that we've created. Like, for about 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, I actually got to talk to Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Kramer from Welcome to Night Vale. That was freaking awesome. If I hadn't already run out of business cards, it would have been more awesome, but yeah. Yeah.
Just take the whole box with you next time.
Yeah. I couldn't find the damn box.
Oh.
But I found it on Monday after my book purging and where it was hidden. So.
Go figure.
But, I mean, I have the book, so after I finish it, since I'm now halfway through, and review it, maybe I can track down some contact info and at least start that ball rolling, if nothing else. Because, hey, you never know. And I did mention I did a full book purging of the books to be read pile. I sacrificed probably about 100 books that I know I'm just never going to get to, or I have ebook copies, or they just don't sound as interesting now as they did when I originally got them. So those are going to be going to the library and used bookstores so that they can find new homes. And you can wrong way. You can kind of see my yellow bookshelf thing over there. I purged that as well of books that I'm not necessarily going to reread again, or just are no longer relevant, or I have extra copies of because I don't know why. So that was painful but cathartic at the same time. But now I have space for more books. Yay!
Somewhere in Connecticut, Justin somehow intuitively picked up on you saying that and is like currently in a corner cringing.
Well, one thing that I'm trying to get back into is synchronizing my Goodreads account. So I'm going to start tossing all the Book Expo stuff on there. I'm going to archive all of my to-be-read pile that I've had onto Goodreads so that I can better keep track of just how many books I'm supposed to be reading at one point or another. And so that I can do the proper little quick reviews on there and kind of refresh myself for each book before I do the video review. But I think my current focus for that is I'm not allowed to purchase another book until I get through a majority of the Book Expo pile, or at least the ones where I know there's good chances or definite chances for an interview. Because for this purpose, work comes first.
Makes sense.
Then after that, I have an entire shelf of book series where I'm missing book 1 or book 3 or book 7. I'm going to make a list of those, and those would be the next purchases I get, so I can at least fill out those series for when I'm ready to read them. Or at least that's the plan. We'll see how that goes.
Subject to change at any time.
Yes. And one thing that has slowed me down and put me behind schedule for the entire week so far is we finally figured out what the crap is going on in this house with bugs. We had a bed bug infestation.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
We definitively confirmed that it was bed bugs. So there was a lot of time spent, not just, well, my books were purged by then, but we also purged a lot of bedding and sheets and just stuff around and did extensive cleaning.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But we're pretty sure that we've gotten it under control, but we have more stuff that we can use if necessary. And worst case scenario, we just bring in an exterminator and deal with it that way. But we're hoping that it was small scale enough that we can deal with it ourselves.
Okay.
But we'll see. But yeah, that set me behind. And seriously creeped me the hell out. Because they were in my bed. And you know what was beneath my bed? All of my textbooks and school books and stuff from the past 10 years or so. And they were in there. Some of those books were $250, and I threw them out.
Ouch.
Because there's just no way you can salvage that. There was just no way of figuring out how to salvage that, so it was just a lost cause for me. That hurt.
That hurt me hearing that.
If there's any consolation, you can possibly find those books in PDF format on the internet for free.
Oh yeah, and a lot of those were, no, not a lot. About a quarter of the ones that I threw out were ones that I actually got at book sales. So I paid maybe $1 for them. Those I'm not too worried about. Those are mostly math books and business books because a lot of that stuff is more or less timeless. So, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's been my week so far. How has Will fared since last week?
No bugs here, out of the usual endless supply of those Japanese beetles and what we've been calling leaf bugs, but are apparently stink bugs.
Oh, bit of a difference.
They look like leaves, but according to that website I showed you, they're stink bugs.
Do they have an odor to them when you squish them?
I never squished them because they were really big. And I was like, if I squish them, they'll make a huge mess, so I'll just release them outside.
It's probably the safer option.
Mhm.
But yeah, apparently they can make a stink if you kill them or piss them off.
Hmm.
Oh well. I did do more audio editing. Slowly but surely catching up, still on schedule. So as such, we
Yay.
should be caught up by Kineticon, like we want to be.
Sweet.
Yay.
I'm excited for that. Let's see. I wrote I don't know if it's a short story or a slash fic, whichever constitutes 3,200 words. Whichever that fits into. I wrote an adult short story, basically just this week.
Nice. Congrats.
Very
And
cool, man.
I just need to do some editing on it because I typed it up and it was 3,200 words, and I'm like, I can make this longer. So I'm going to be adding a little bit more to it, probably tonight or tomorrow, and then it'll go up on the internet on Patreon by the weekend.
Nice.
Speaking of things going up on Patreon, I finished chapter 29 of My Roommate's a Stripper.
Hooray.
So that is, excuse me, that is up on Patreon for early access donators who sign up for $10 or more per submission. And then at the end of this month, it'll go up everywhere for everyone.
Cool.
And then I have to write another short story and the next chapter. So more writing for me. Yay! Writing and audio editing and game recordings and all that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. And one thing that I forgot in regards to recordings, you can see in the corner of my in my actual screen, I finally got a damn pop filter.
Hooray!
Although I had to MacGyver a way to prop it up. It's supposedly a or like a universal pop filter for that brand. It's the same brand as my mic. There's no frickin' way to clip it to this particular model using what they give you. So it's currently just kind of duct taped to the base. It works.
Hey, do what you gotta do, man.
But yes, I finally have a pop filter, so you won't have to hear all the P's and S's as badly as they were before. About damn time. Hey, how has Calvin fared since last week?
Some things. I got some things done. Like we mentioned earlier, Book Expo America this past Friday. It was a hell of a time. Hopefully we can stow away to Chicago next year and do it again. Fingers crossed.
We'll figure something out.
That's what I like to hear. Let's see, on the Infinity's Light front, I got 2 more tracks done.
Nice.
And both of them made Richie super duper happy. I'm not gonna lie, those 2 tracks made me pretty happy as well. Very fun and lighthearted tracks. Not terribly long. Both of them are about 2 minutes long, so pretty quick ones, but definitely effective, and those will probably be like some of the first ones people hear once we finish doing editing and stuff for our short form strips.
Nice.
Also on the Infinity's Light front, Richie and I have been working on the promo for AkaiCon. Excuse me. Our artist Lazarus has been very quickly pushing out the strips for that promo, and they are looking fantastic.
Yeah, he's been powering through those.
Like, that dude is a machine, and he is awesome. Though I have yet to meet him. But
Is
it's
he going
nice.
to be at a KaiCon?
Seeing as how he lives in Madrid, no.
Unlikely.
Very unlikely. I think what's been like really, really cool about this Infinity's Light project, like, all the different tracks I've been putting together have been really inspiring everybody, the voice actors, the artists, Richie, and that makes me feel good. Makes me feel like I'm doing something right. So that's a continuing source of excitement for me.
In a selfish way, I'm kind of glad that you're just progressing through all the Infinity's Light stuff now, so that by the time Ashen Sky comes around to being ready for musical stuff and all that, your plate will be a little lighter.
Yes. Like, the only downside to this project, it's cutting into my web design business a little bit. Like, I have a client that is looking to revamp their site. I may or may not be able to do it right now, just because of everything that's going on between full coverage writers and OTP manga. But I'll see if I can eke something out. Outside of all the creative stuff, my plan for Friday is to go for my learner's permit for the 3rd time. Now, the reason why I'm going for my learner's permit for the 3rd time is because I let my learner's permit expire twice already.
Yeah, it's not like you failed
No,
either of the 2 times.
I've passed the test both times. But 4 years goes by a lot quicker than you realize.
Don't make it easy scheduling for the actual driving test either.
That's true too. So, everybody, keep your fingers crossed for me on Friday. Hopefully, 3rd time's a charm. We'll see.
Hopefully the 3rd time it sticks.
Yes.
Or at least migrates to the next level.
The big difference between this time around and the previous... Good Lord. It's been almost 11 years since I first got my permit. The difference between now and 2004 and 2009, I can actually afford driving lessons.
Just so you know, driving my car to a KaiCon does not count as a driving lesson.
Okay.
Granted, there's enough driving time in there. But...
Yeah. Actually, I've not driven that car. I've driven the previous one. Hopefully, I can get my little bit of my driving legs before August, so I can contribute to that trip.
It's only a 14-hour drive.
Oh, is that all?
One way.
Sweet Jesus, that's right. forgot we have to go back.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, Jesus. I'm thinking about how many days I'm gonna have to take off from work, and I may not get paid for those because I'm very short on vacation days.
Well, it would probably be at least a half day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday.
All right, so I have to figure out how I'm going to make up 3 days of work.
Because, I mean, if we left Sunday afternoon,
Mhm.
we'll get back either really early Monday morning or like Monday morning.
Do I want to stroll into work after a 14-hour trip?
No.
I've actually strolled into work under worse conditions, so I might be able to squeeze by that one. We'll
You
see.
have until August to figure it out at least.
Yeah.
But before then, we should probably wrap up the show.
That sounds good to me, because we're at the, let's see, yeah, we're about an hour and 40 some odd minutes in. Wow.
Yep. I'm sure Justin is cringing right now without even knowing why. But, you know, speaking of all these events, the next one up is, of course, Kineticon, now that Book Expo and BookCon are done. And Kineticon is our big one, where the full crew will be there. Calvin and I will be there as press. We'll have our booth in the Artists Colony, and we'll be number one. No, literally, we have booth number one in Artists Colony. So that's going to be awesome. And we're going to have all sorts of shiny baubles, and we're going to have potentially some new designs. Just as a quick spoiler, we've been playing around with colored backgrounds finally. So it's not just going to be black and white and red. We're still figuring out logistics for some of those, just so people can see. But yeah, Kineticon's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, all the other conventions throughout the year are on the list, and the links are there accordingly, so you can check them out, figure out if you can attend, and come say hello. But in the meantime, it's time to wrap up this show and do all the other various things that we need to do tonight.
Mm.
As always, if we have entertained you in any way, shape, or form, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can watch, comment, and thumbs up all of our crazy shenanigans, from the Word Ninjas live show to all of the interviews and press stuff that we're getting over the next several months to our Game Break series. And I noticed that Will finally hit XXX in regards to BioShock. So that is worth checking out.
That means you got to be 18 or older to watch the rest of the series.
So yeah, we have all sorts of fun stuff on there. Definitely worth checking out. And we are really trying to push towards getting 100 followers by episode 100. Because why not? That's a fun little milestone that we want to hit. And we keep gyrating around 65 followers. We keep gaining one and then losing another. Come on, guys, help us out. Let's get us a little bit closer to 100. I know it's not that big of a number, but for us, that would be fantastic. It would make our day.
Agreed.
If you want to check us out via social media, we're on Twitter at FCWordNinja, and we track the hashtag WordNinjas if you really want to get our attention. You can also check us out on Tumblr, fcwordninja.tumblr.com, or Facebook, facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. If you want to help fund our various endeavors and pay for our gas money so we can get to a KaiCon, check out the Etsy store, where all of our various buttons and books and booklets and Word Ninja plushies and bookmarks and all other shiny baubles are available for purchase. And as we keep on coming up with new designs and evolving and adapting old ones, our old stock will eventually burn out. So if there is a design that you want, grab it while you can, because we have a limited supply of everything. We don't make 1,000 of each one. We make considerably less than that. We tend to have maybe a dozen or 2 dozen at most on hand for any one design. So once those burn out, because we make a new design, that's it. They're gone. They're done. So snag them while you can. And of course, if you want to check out anything else that we're doing, fcwriters.com has pretty much everything, from the entire backlog of Word Ninjas Live to all of our event and press photos and stuff, book reviews, worksheets, everything. If you want to track me down, good luck, but best place would be Tumblr, fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. And occasionally you'll track me down on the Fairy Tale podcast as Makarov, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday nights over on their channel. Although, considering that Makarov is apparently now gone rogue in the Fairy Tale plot, maybe you won't see me. Who knows? Hey, where can people track down Will?
You can find me mostly on my personal Tumblr page at darkhom.tumblr.com. That's spelled DARKHOM. It's where I just hang out all the time and post whatever I want. I also have a blog for My Roommate's a Stripper at myroommatesastripper.com, where you can check out stuff for the story specifically. And if you do want to support me on Patreon, it's patreon.com/darkhom.
And where can people track down Calvin?
What do I still use right now? I guess Twitter and Instagram would be your best bets. Find me at CCWII on both of those. And every now and then you'll find me on Tumblr at instacal.tumblr.com.
All right, and with that, hey, that's a show. Thank you for joining us for episode 94 of Word Ninja Live. Tune in next week for episode 95. Good Lord, just 3 more weeks until our 2-year anniversary. Episode 97 will be 2 years. 2 years and 1 day, I believe.
Nice.
That's nuts.
We gotta figure out something fun to do for that episode. Or maybe we can just faff about like we do for most of the other notable number episodes.
We'll see. But in the meantime, you'll have to wait until then. Have a good night, everyone.
Adios.
Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to episode 94 of Word Ninjas Live. I am your instigator of literary and creative productivity and insanity and everything else, Charles. And joining me tonight are my co-hosts. Stop. Don't. I need that window. Stupid mouse. Will.
Hi, I think.
And Calvin.
Bad mouse. Bad mouse.
I didn't expect it to go into the corner of the screen. Each corner does stupid things. That's the Mac.
That's why I don't use any of those corner shortcuts, because they're evil.
Well, they come in handy when I actually use them, but when I inadvertently activate them, it becomes really frustrating. More so when I'm playing games that are full screen, but not fully full screen, so it still activates them when I don't expect it. That's always fun.
Well, I really can't say those corner shortcuts are completely evil. I only use one, and that's to do a quick lock, do the quick lock of the laptop, and during times where I still need it but need to don't feel like closing it.
I just have one of the corners move all the windows up and out of the way so I can see the desktop, because most of my folders are on the desktop, so it comes in handy.
Mm.
But believe it or not, that is not the talkie point for this week's episode. What is the talkie point for this week's episode? We actually have three, believe it or not, because we're crazy. And we have a lot to talk about this week, because a lot of stuff has gone on. First things first, though, we still have a little bit more of Book Expo America convention review. I know I did mine on Monday for a whole hour, because I did my full book haul of like 45 books, but hey, we have Calvin on too. And he managed to make it for all of day 3. And I kind of...
On time at that.
Yeah, and I kind of ran him ragged on Friday because we had, I think it was 6 interviews when all was said and done.
Yep, it was 6. It was going to be initially 4.
Yeah.
But we seem to attract all manner of people who seem to like us for some reason. Not that I'm complaining. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yes, we had a lot of fun with all those people and everything else that we did. But I thought I'd try and grab a few minutes of your time to talk about your perspective on it all. Because I rambled for a good half an hour about my perspective, but I presume you have at least your own perspective on things.
It probably would have been nice that I prepared beforehand with my book haul, but it's in the hallway over there. I can run and grab it real quick, or at some point. But in the meantime, this year I can say was a lot different from last year. Last year, Book Expo was completely new to me, something incredibly foreign. The only other time I've been to a convention, like anything that large, was, well, New York Comic-Con and the annual auto show at the Javits Center, but nothing this colossally big pertaining to books and authors and literature in general. So, like, while last year was basically me getting my sea legs and going to a convention of that nature, this year felt kind of like old hat, though. This year I didn't have the extra adage of going for all 3 days like I did last year. Oh no, wait.
I think you only came for 2 days because it was like last year was also on the weekend, so I think you came for Saturday and Sunday, but not Friday or something.
I thought I did 3 days. No, there's one day I didn't go, but it felt like a lot.
Because I remember I already had your badge, and then I was inside, but then I had to come out and meet you.
Yeah, because I ran late.
It happens. It's because we didn't have interviews last year.
And you'd actually be surprised how long it takes to get from Brooklyn to the Javits Center. Like, the Javits Center is as far west of Manhattan as you can possibly get.
Until you get into the water itself.
Yeah. And those blocks are long. But I digress. Let's see. I was saying something. Yep. Last year was madness. This year was significantly less madness, even though I had more to do this year, which made me feel a bit more useful, honestly. I'm kind of sad I missed out on Thursday, just because of all the people I missed out on. Specifically Michael Kep. It would have been real nice to chat with him again.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was going to be there just for Thursday or there, period. So I'm really glad that I managed to catch that. But we managed to get copies of his next book, and I'm sure we'll be able to get him on the show again for that one, and we can catch up then.
I enjoyed Book Expo this year. I enjoyed the my role as one man AV crew.
And you did that job well.
Thank you. I feel like I'm getting better at that. I will say that tripod you bought me helped. I don't know. It meant a whole lot to me. Getting to be a part of that interview and chatting with him afterwards, because my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, worked for Decca Records back in the day, and like a lot of the artists that he spoke about during an interview, my grandmother spoke about at length a lot of times, and actually told Mr. Connor a story that my grandmother would always tell me and my mother. At one point in the interview, he had talked about how Little Richard, and the band would wear pancake makeup to try to dial down their masculinity. And I told him a story that my grandmother used to tell us about the first time she met Little Richard. Now, one of my grandmother's trademarks back in the day, and even up to later in her life, was her generous use of pancake makeup on her face. And so she would always tell us the first time she had met Little Richard, one of the first things he noticed was the pancake makeup on her face and how well she wore it, because my grandmother had some serious style back then, and even up to the day she died, she was always in style and always glamorous, always done up. And so after that encounter, like not too long after that, she would see him on TV, and she saw him on TV, and she noticed that he happened to be wearing pancake makeup. So she always gave herself credit tremendously. Like I think eventually I'll get good enough to have everything set up within like 90 seconds. I think I just have to figure out the whole game plan, which to start off with first, and I don't know. I'll be given enough time, give it like another year or so. I'll be pretty much a one-man AV machine. And I'm hoping by next year I'll have better lenses to use. I can't really complain. I used my kit lens, and the kit lens worked out pretty well.
Yeah, we made it work.
The fact that the Javits Center is a giant greenhouse really didn't hurt either. The interviews that we did, those were a lot of fun. A whole lot of fun. But like we ended up finding a very diverse cast of characters we got to talk to, but hands down my favorite was Charles Connor, Little Richard's original drummer.
We kind of started that day off with a bang.
Sure enough. Like I was actually going through the interview last night, and it's going back and listening to like all the stories he had, and we were only with him for 27 minutes. Like that's how long the video is, like about 27 minutes, but it's it's a jam-packed 27 minutes of just amazing, not just musical history, but American history as well. And
Yeah.
like